It is my favorite. I love listening to that. Everybody's like, and he's like, because it's like, I don't know. It's like,
it's funny because it's such a foodie. Like,
yeah. And he's like, no, it says
I
veggies.
have control of this.
Yeah, and nobody gets chicken.
Oh my God.
Just go on.
So looking back, though, is there something you wouldn't have done? Like now looking back, now we can laugh about the story about the chicken.
Yeah.
But is there something that maybe you would have done differently?
Even no.
I don't get chicken.
You don't
No
get
one
chicken.
gets chicken.
Yeah, that's how it felt inside.
Well, happy Wednesday, y'all.
Is it a happy Wednesday?
Isn't it always?
Yeah.
I mean, there's happiness in moments of a Wednesday.
There.
It was water, if anyone was watching.
Yeah, it was very
Shiny.
shiny in that corner of the world. Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, so our topic today is whether you can control emotions or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's start with taking a deep breath, y'all. Take an inhale.
What is that, Div? Like everybody just let out all of your feelings.
It's that, like, I don't know what it is. It's like the Grinch doing yoga or something like that. And he's like,
It is my favorite. I love listening to that. Everybody's like, and he's like, letting it all out.
Letting it all out.
Um,
Controlling emotions.
I think it's a perfect topic right now because everyone's kind of on edge.
Are we? Are we on edge? We are on edge.
Well, I just had a call and it was like everybody from the team sounds was on. And so it was like one of the people asked a question, which kind of made me, and I was taking it personally for sure.
oh, I hate those.
But I was like, you're making me look like shit right now. And I was like, you're telling on dad. So I'm like, oh. And so I'm like ready to like text Sabs like, what's really happening? And then I was like, no.
Yeah.
That's not what you do.
Yeah.
Be a little more constructive.
Yeah.
And so I waited till after the call.
Do you feel like you have to let your emotions just kind of, like, how do you manage your emotions when you feel like that?
Well, I know that, when you are emotionally
Compromised?
you shouldn't do anything really. Well, at least for me.
Yeah.
So I know that like, there's no point in texting anyone, no point in calling anyone out. You can easily get off of, mute and say something, but it's like, that doesn't serve anybody. And you're just making a point essentially, which at the end of the day,
moment, it feels good.
In the moment, it will make you feel good, but really it's not serving anyone. So I was like, I'm going to wait until I'm not emotionally triggered.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know. In the situation, it's like, there's a lot of other factors, that aren't being disclosed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not the full picture, but at the same time, like, making my point isn't going to do anything. So I'm trying to just focus on me and what I can control.
Yeah. At what point do you think that you will make a comment or mention of
Well, that's
it?
the hard part because it's like, do I not say anything and leave the storyline as it is so that whoever has their assumptions has their assumptions? Or do I say something so that I can say like, no, I'm correcting, like actually explaining the factors that are going into all of this. So it's like, I'm fighting that right now. And I'm like, no, at this point, like I'm doing so much that I want that to be known. But at the same time, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still working through it in my head right now.
Yeah.
Let's discuss the primary emotions.
Rage. Just kidding.
Falls into anger.
Rage.
Yeah.
There's happiness, sadness,
Disgust.
disgust.
And apparently anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Which is in the
Inside
fear.
Out. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. I'm with you.
But it is an inside out fear. Or
Yeah.
anxiousness or whatever. Excitement, surprise, all of the good stuff. But emotions in general, like, are quite fleeting. Like when you said, is it a happy Wednesday? I'm like, well, it could be. Like there can be moments in today that you can experience happiness. But in this moment, we are on edge.
Yeah.
Right now, we approach this call feeling all sorts of
Of
ways.
things.
More so confusion, a little bit of anger, I guess.
Yeah.
And then kind of riding those waves and really figuring out what is the root cause or the triggering. Because to me, when it comes down to anger, it's almost as if someone is telling me they misinterpreted or like there was some type of miscommunication. And I'm over here like, I've done my job as best as I thought possibly could. And then now I feel like it's not enough. And so I feel almost that like anger coming out, trying to make sure that my foot is just like, it's in it. But I'm like, are you really telling me that I'm not doing my job properly?
Yeah.
And I'm just, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have. And I don't know, when you're outside of physically outside, you really have no idea what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I think anger is one of the emotions that I have come in like touch with like fairly recently, and I'm just realizing it. And me and my best friend were really big on the Enneagram, and I know I am a 9, and that's part of the anger triad. So like the default emotion
Is anger.
Really? Yes. Mm-hmm.
So when you say that you felt it more recently,
Not
or become more aware that you are feeling anger more recently.
I'm becoming more aware that I do experience that. Like it's making so much sense now that I've become a little bit more educated about my personality and me and who I am and what I default to. And it makes sense just because I'm very cool, calm and collected, I feel, on the outside. But then when things get emotionally charged, the emotion that I go to is anger and I can feel it. And now it makes so much sense to me, you know, because I feel like I can go from one extreme to the other. And it almost makes it more intense just because I don't operate in that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's an impression of like, oh, cool. You know, and then it's like, wait, what the heck just happened? You know, but it comes from that. And I'm realizing that I really have to be patient, almost like you're saying, just ride it out. Yeah. Cause when I can really think about it, I don't think that you can control emotions. You can control the thoughts that lead to the emotion. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to manage as well, as I'm realizing like, oh, okay, anger is really in there. And I feel like there's like a split second where you have a choice to make a decision. To either react or to adopt a thought that is actually going to serve you.
Love.
Yeah. Because anger is very intense. It's almost Hulk-like. Is like something happens, and at least for me, that's how I feel on the inside. And my best friend and I, we talk about it and we laugh. We specifically laugh when I went to Greece. I'll share this story. I went to Greece and we were on one of the catamarans and they were making skewers with like chicken and all this. And I was actually hanging out like right where they were like preparing it. Not on purpose, but it just happened to be where I was. And so I spent like so many hours just watching them make this chicken, right? I'm like, oh, this is going to be so great when lunchtime rolls around. And a day before, we had to let them know what we wanted. Fish, chicken, veggies, whatever. Of course, I said chicken. And so I make sure that I'm like one of the first people in line to get my chicken.
Yes.
And so the guy has a clipboard. No, there is chicken. I am literally probably the third person.
Okay.
No, I'm like the third person in line. And so of course there's chicken. There's loads of chicken. And so I get up to the guy and he's like, okay, what's your name? I give him my name and he's like checking to see what people signed up for. And so he's like, okay, veggies. And I'm like,
oh, I was right.
Yeah, and I was like, no.
I don't know how you guys say vegetables in your language, but I want chicken.
I said chicken. And he's like, no. And he like showed me, he's like, it says veggies. And this is something, so it's funny because it's like, I don't know. It's
funny such a foodie. Like,
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
It says
I
veggies.
have control of this.
Yeah. And I felt literally like a surge of like anger. I'm serious, because no matter how much I tried to explain to him, I said chicken. Like, I'll show you the text message that says I said chicken.
Right.
He was like, it says veggies. And like, I felt so out of control. Like, there was nothing that I could do.
Did you become a Karen? Just wondering.
No.
Did you show him the text?
I don't know. Maybe.
Did you get your
She
chicken?
blacked out.
I did not get my chicken. So I felt, I was like, there's nothing that can correct this injustice. Like, I was so angry, and I got in line, and I could almost feel it. And I got the veggies, and in my head, I'm just saying like all of the worst things.
Yeah.
There's a Hulk in there, and I'm like, I can't do anything about this. I want to, and so I go around, and my best friend, I'm like, she can see it, and
Did she get chicken?
she did.
Oh,
Yeah, she did.
were you watching her in disgust?
Well, here's the thing. So she could tell I was really trying to contain myself inside, which what am I going to do? And I was like, Prima, like I said chicken, like, and I was like, what the F? And she literally gave me a skewer. She's like, here, eat the chicken.
Yeah.
And she was like, the moment I knew you were like really upset was when I went to our guide, and I was like, did you tell them that I ordered chicken? She's like, at that moment in time, because you're not a person that likes confrontation, but you sought out some form of confrontation, confrontation. And it might seem small on the outside, but for me, like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But I was like, did you tell them that I ordered chicken? And she was like, oh no. She's like, have the chicken. So it's like little things like that where I can feel on the inside. It really goes from one extreme to the other. And I'm like, okay, I have to really like control myself and my thoughts. But at that moment in time, especially for food, I was like, I was sitting for hours waiting for this chicken to be made, and all I got was veggies. Yeah, so it's like a funny story for me where I'm like, whoa, I really have to, reel it in a little bit internally, because it feels so intense.
Oh, yeah.
It feels so intense.
So it's like you said, like you should feel it. You should feel emotions, but it's all in how you react.
Yeah.
It's like you can be as pissed off as you want, and you have two avenues to go. You can like, hey, like let's relax before you talk to people or respond or whatever. Or you can freaking throw the papers off the table, throw the chicken off board.
I know.
You could have done it.
Imagine nobody gets chicken.
Oh, my God.
Just go off and flip it.
You're like, if I don't get chicken,
You don't
no
get
one
chicken.
gets chicken.
Yeah. That's how it felt inside.
Yeah.
That is how it felt inside. But, and I've had other moments where I feel like I've experienced that. And now we refer to, in order for me to like, explain to her how I feel, she's like, is it chicken level or like, So now we have like a
level of anger.
Chicken.
yeah.
Chicken being a higher level of it.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Well, they say like, so successful, usually people will have like one thing that ruins their day. They'll have one thing that ruins their week, or even like, this has ruined my year. But they say successful people have a bad 15 minutes, not a bad day. So it's in like, okay, what do you do after
Yeah.
to like let it go?
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
It's funny because in general, like right now, talking about it is funny.
It is funny.
It's like
Right.
you're reflecting on the emotion that you had and what like really truly triggered it, because who knows what the chicken meant to you.
Well,
Or maybe there was something before.
No, is it because like
We-
the whole prep and you were watching it being made and the smells of the chicken, and so it was like really triggering an emotional, visceral response to you urging, desiring.
Like that's all you wanted in that moment.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend unpacked this conversation. It was beautiful. She was like, what was it? Like, what was the underlying, because you still got chicken anyways. She gave me chicken, right?
You wanted,
But you weren't happy about it, I'm sure,
I was
eating it.
No, and I felt bad because then I was taking her chicken. Like, how many times can we say chicken on this podcast?
Yeah.
Say chicken one more time, please. Drink.
Like preparation.
And so the part that really angered me was the fact that there was nothing that I could do. Like, forget the food. There was nothing that I could do to change this guy's mind or the outcome of the situation. It's like I had put out there that this is what I wanted. Like, I did my part to get what I wanted, and now I'm showing up to pick up what I ordered.
Yeah.
And there was a mistake that was made somewhere along the lines, and there's nothing that I could do to correct it.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally out of my control.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't control the situation. I couldn't get my way.
Yeah.
And that is what angered me a lot.
So looking back, though, is there something you wouldn't have done? Like, now looking back, now we can laugh about the story about the chicken.
Yeah.
But is there something that maybe you would have done differently?
Even no. I'm really okay. I'm trying to like put myself in that situation, right? I think what I could have done differently, because when I think about, like I said, even if you can't manage the emotion, you can't control the thoughts. I think at that point in time, maybe more so like taking a breath and really just being grateful for the fact that I get to eat really good food. Like
Shifting it.
Yeah, so I think shifting it. But when I go back and I re-experience that moment in my mind, there was no shifting happening at that point in time. Yeah. I was so emotionally charged. This sounds so silly. It's a conversation about food, but
I've been about the donut once Charles ate, and I was really pissed.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
The amount of food stories I
I
have
know.
from just being angry.
Yeah, but I think it was that, and at that point, it made me realize how much I want to control things. You know what I mean? I wanted to control the situation, and I couldn't. Like, I couldn't have what I wanted. There was nothing that I could do to change this guy's mind, and that made me realize there's an illusion of control here. You know how Sabs talks about that all the time. And it's like, there's nothing that I can do to control this. And I threw a fit internally.
Yeah.
And that
externally.
And externally.
and externally. Yeah. Yeah. But it's true. Cause how many times you think that you're in control.
From these tours.
I know, right? She cannot come.
Chicken lady.
Yeah. But, and I realize that like there are certain things where it's like, I think that I have control, and then I realize you really don't have control. And it's like, oh, it kind of checks you a little bit. Yeah. So it's a harsh reality to come to. And my reaction apparently is anger. But I think to go back, if I could, ideally take a breath, be grateful for the fact that you do have food.
You are in Greece.
You are in Greece.
Yeah.
On a catamaran.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. People
seriously.
are like fucking ungrateful.
I know. That's why I'm like, it's a silly story. This is going to sound terrible. But that is honestly what happened.
It's a good example, yeah.
Like, that is what happened. But I think being grateful, and again, serving myself with the thoughts that will actually allow me to move quicker into a place of peace and just help the anger just dissipate. Because I don't think that they go away. I really think like emotions, you really have to ride them out.
Yeah.
And you have to honor them, because if I were to try to like push it, or like, it's just going to build up in some other way, shape or form. Maybe not at that moment, but then later on I would have been blowing up about my pasta or something. I don't know. So I think that you have to honor your emotions and feel them, like really feel them out, like tease them out, get to the underlying reason as to why. And for me, I'm happy that we were able to have that discussion after. It's control. Mm-hmm. You want to control things. You can't. So what are you going to do? Yeah.
Yeah, and then even as you communicated, almost like when you're talking about it again with your best friend, it's okay, like communicating that in itself, to be like trying to figure out at the end of the day, what was that cause? Because even with me and my partner, Charles, there are moments in which I've had felt very angry. And it's funny because some people, again, have this perception of us being very like calm, collective, and cool or whatnot. And so I was talking about it with one of my girlfriends because she was like, well, what do you guys fight about? You know, like what do you guys fight about? And it still kind of is an issue. It's not super big right now, but it's always, I've talked about this multiple times with you, Sandra, but it always came down to going dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny. I love dancing and we'll go Latin dancing or whatnot. We do like salsa and bachata. And then some, I know that Charles always feels very insecure about his dancing, which even to this day, like he's still, that emotion of fear comes up for him.
Yeah.
And so he would then get very tense or whatever. And then I would feel like almost as if I just want him to do more. But then at this point now I'm like, I'll just dance with other people, which is fine. But like early on, it would be like, we would go out with Sandra and then she's like doing her thing. And then I'm trying to go dance with Charles and he's getting all frustrated. And then I feel a little bit frustrated because like I want to dance, but he doesn't really know the moves and I'm not having fun.
Yeah.
Which again, this is silly to talk about, but then we'll like leave abruptly, right? Like we'll leave the event abruptly without, there was a point where I'm like, I don't even want to say bye to anyone. I just want to get out. And so we left, had this whole argument, if you will, back at home where we were trying to discuss like what was going on. And he was like, I just feel like you're getting mad at me. And I'm like, I'm not really mad at you. I just want you to move. That is it. Like, that's all you need to do. And then he's like, well, I don't know how to move my hips. I'm like, it's okay. Like, as long as you just dance, great. And so there was even, we had a long time ago, we had a bike, a motorbike, and there was a moment where I just left the house, rode on the bike, and like took circles around the block. And so we called it throttle therapy.
That's funny.
Because I just needed to like get out and breathe. And so I did that for a couple times. I came back and then like just sat with it and then let him know, like, I'm not even mad at you. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just angry at the situation. One, because we are in a public space. And so I hate having any type of altercation in front of people where it's not even a big deal. Like, it's really not a big deal. And so coming back to it, I feel like even right now, like we'll go dancing and it's not as heavy. And so it's nice to know where we've started and now where we are and how much we've grown and like giving ourselves space in which I need to dance. So here I am and I'll just dance with other people. And that is a solution. And now we'll just continue that. But I thought it was really funny because that was like the only reason why we fought in general. Like we don't fight a lot, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one time where he like messed up my laundry, but that was like another thing. We learned it, we got over it, and now we're fine.
Yeah. But in talking about it, you guys were able to kind of peel back the actual layers of what was actually happening.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And it was fear. It's an insecurity piece. And I was just getting angry and frustrated because he was feeling that way. And then it's just like the emotions were so, what's the word? Intense? What you called it?
Heavily charged.
Yeah, very. I was like, what's the word you just said? Heavily charged. It was a very emotionally charged because one, we're like in public spaces and you understand that there are people that don't even like being around people in public like that, right? Because like dancing in general can be very vulnerable. And then you're doing it out in public. And for a guy, it's much harder because you're the one leading.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah. But I like how you guys figured it out.
Yes.
Because for you, it's like, I want to dance and have fun. So if we can be okay being in this space, I can dance with other people as well, still dance with Charles here and there.
And you've been there. Yeah. You dance with Charles and he's not bad. Like he's definitely grown for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
He just doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just think that part is funny.
Yeah. Talking about it, I think, is key.
Yeah.
Because then you can get to the root of what is causing what. And that's part of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So funny. What about you, Dre? She's just sitting there, just like looking all happy, probably trying to figure out a time and place where she felt a moment.
I mean, constantly, that's how you learn. I mean, professionally, personally, I don't know. You guys pick.
Let's go personally because we shared personal stories.
Okay.
If you feel comfortable.
I'm trying to think.
When was the last time you felt very emotionally triggered? It
Okay,
could have been
let me
like with your
think.
family, like your mom hugging you and you don't want that. I don't know. Mom, I love you, but I want to love you from afar.
Well, there was one, like me and Chris got into a fight the other day. It was like a few weeks ago. And all I had asked, because he had been gone all weekend. I'd been doing a ton of things. I was working, whatever. And so I was like, let's just go have date night Sunday night when you get back in town. And that's all I want. Just wanted Cha-Cha's, which is a Mexican restaurant. And so I was like, we'll go to Cha-Cha's. And he was like, okay. And then I get to his house and his sister is there with her daughter. And I'm like, where are the guys at? Thinking like, oh, they were putting things back into like the trailer, putting it away and whatever. And she was like, oh, they're at the like local bar. And I was like, how long they been there? And she was like,
This was Sunday already.
yeah. And I'm assuming because he had gotten up super early to get on the road at like 5 a.m. And so I'm like, he's one to like take naps. So there's a ton of assumptions on my end being made, but I was like, I have a ton of things to do. So like he can take his nap. I'll head over an hour before so I can wake him up, get him in the shower. Let's go. And so I show up and his sister's there and I'm like, her husband's also MIA. And so
no.
I was like, how long they been there? And she was like, for like 3 hours. And I was like, what? I was like, we're supposed to be leaving for dinner in 30 minutes. And she was like, we're also supposed to be going to date night like 10 minutes ago.
At this point, like, you two go on a date.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my. So I'm like, so I go outside and I call him and I'm like, where are you? And he was like, oh, we like came down to grab like some drinks and we'll be there. And I was like, we're leaving in now 20 minutes. And I'm just like pissed.
Did you have reservations?
Because all I wanted was just he's been gone. I've been busy. I just wanted quality time, which is one of my love languages. Quality time. And that's it. And I just wanted Cha-Cha's, whatever.
Yeah.
And he, in my head, is making a mockery of the Sunday because he has decided to spend his quality time with his friends and not me.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and so then he shows up and I'm like, And he was like, all right, let's go. And I was like, you smell like a bar. You need to get into the shower. I can't I just want to have dinner. Mm-hmm. And so he gets in the shower. Then we're driving to Cha-Cha's and I'm just
silent.
And of course, he likes to ruffle my feathers, whatever, grind my gears, whatever you want to call it. When he's had, a couple. And so he was like, because we had just put an offer into another house. And he was like, do you even understand how much money that's going to cost? And I was like, okay, well, one, he has liquid courage. I'm going to leave it alone. You shouldn't fight with people that have alcohol in their system because it doesn't serve anything. And at the end of the day, it's coming out of their asshole. So that's one thing I've learned. Don't ever fight with someone that has alcohol in their system because one, they more times than not don't mean what they say. Two, liquid courage. They didn't want to say this in the first place, but they're saying it anyways. And at the end of the day, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so I'm just staying quiet. And I'm just thinking about Cha-Cha's and I'm just driving. And then he keeps at it. And I was like, do you think I'm an idiot? I went off.
Oh, no.
I turned the car around and I dropped him off at home.
You did not. Really?
And I went and had dinner by myself.
Snaps for Dre.
You're pissing me off.
You're pissing me off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to entertain this. I'm not going to go to dinner and act like I'm okay. And like you said, being in a public space and just having animosity for someone, is the opposite of what I want. And like kind of the study I explained to you guys about like the difference between like the state you're in when you're eating. It doesn't.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to sit there and like, I'm sure the waitress would be like, what is happening?
What is going on?
You know, you're not talking to each other, whatever. Yeah. And then it's just awkward, like small talk between you guys. So I was like, so I dropped him off.
That is,
and I went and had dinner.
Yeah.
And I just was like, oh my God, I'm just like and then the next day, like, I'm just going to explain to you, like we've both been so busy that I feel like you did not care when I put so much emphasis on this dinner. I made the plans, whatever. And I just feel like because we've been working so much and we've just been doing our own things, like I want to have a very significant time together to at least have, whether it's an hour or two, just spend quality time.
Yeah.
And I felt like you did not take that seriously when you decided to go and hang out with your buddy and do the opposite of what I wanted you to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's just where I was at. And he was like, no, I understand. I totally agree. I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. And I was like, great, cleared the air. Yep. But I was like, I'm not someone that tolerates that shit. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to entertain someone that is making me feel a certain way. So I'm going to drop your ass back at home or leave the space that you're in. Because to me, I'm like, get it off of me.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
You know, so that was my personal story, my chicken story.
I know. It sounds like anger level was chicken.
At the end of the day, still
chicken.
Yeah, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, like make sure that if it is someone that it's your significant other or your friend or whatever, like clear the air after the fact and just make them understand why you did what you did. Yeah. Because people always have their own assumptions of like, oh, she, you know, if I didn't explain it, Chris is like, she's, you know, probably that time of the month, probably very aggressive right now. Maybe someone else pissed her off. I'm not going to like even pay any mind to what it could have been, whether it was me or not.
So I want to be clear. You pissed me off.
Right. And made me feel a certain way. So it's like, just understand, like when I say dinner, that is my quality time with you.
Yeah.
So take it seriously because I will take your love language seriously.
Yeah. It's always better to have those conversations once the emotion has kind of died down a little bit. Yeah. I have found it does not work when you are so upset, angry, and you're trying to have a conversation. One, at least for me, the words don't come out right. Like it just, you know, it just doesn't come out. And then I feel like it's harder for the person to actually take you seriously. Yeah. Because then at that point,
you're both trying to win the conversation.
Yeah. And at that point too, their understanding is like, she's being really emotional right now when they are valid feelings, but they're not taken seriously because of the way that they're being presented. So if you can just wait it out a little bit so that you can present them in a way where they're going to be accepted, then it's going to work better that way. Yeah.
And you have to do the work too of understanding like, why was I so mad?
Yes.
And it be like legitimate, not like I was mad because he went and drank with his friends and he doesn't care about me. Like, no. I was mad because I held so much value in what we were going to do.
And he did
that
not.
I put it on you, even though it was on me. Like if my expectations were here and because those expectations were not met, that's why I got mad. So it's like, I shouldn't have those types of expectations or at least set them up front without assuming they're going to happen. I think that's where my anger came from. And if you don't really like look at it from like, I got mad. He didn't get mad. I got mad. And I need to figure out why I got mad.
Like you're taking responsibility for the way that you feel. And even with that, I think a thought that would be helpful too is asking yourself, well, is it really true that Chris doesn't love me?
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
Like, you know for a fact that he loves you.
Right.
So I think in that moment, those are the kind of thoughts that are available to you that you can like grasp to help calm down. Because that would help me. Like, no, this person actually does care about me. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Right. Now that we've gotten over that part, because sometimes that is surface level what you think, like, oh, they don't care. It's like, no, is it true? Is that absolutely true?
Right.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so what really is it?
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
When it comes to work, one, besides this morning, this morning, what I was,
What happened this morning?
I mean,
I was like,
be
what
honest.
happened this morning?
We won't get into that, but besides this morning or whatever, I tend to not necessarily get so angry when it comes to work. I know that there are moments, but one, y'all know this, was when I was late to the conference.
Yeah.
I was late to the conference that we just had recently a couple of weeks ago.
We were wondering how that car ride went.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I was going to talk about that because, long story short,
Because I've been in a car ride with you where we were both angry.
and that was only a 10-minute ride. This was 2.5 hours. Okay. When it comes down to it, for the last almost 10 years, I don't think I've ever been late to a conference, to a flight, to any event, whatever that might have been, right? And so we've had a couple of weeks ago in which we had to go to LA, and then my team member, I shared with her what time to get to my place, which is kind of, I should, in my head, what I could have controlled before is a different time, an earlier time, whatever.
Yeah.
But she ended up getting to my place an hour later from what I asked her to do. And so when she got to my place, I had so many fucking emotions. I was texting you guys. I was like, oh my God, like, do I even go? Like, do I still go to the conference? It's going to take me so freaking long.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go anymore. I don't. Like, no one's going to care. No one's going to care. And so she finally gets to my place, pulls up, and I get into the car. We get in, and I just told her straight out. I was like, I'm actually really frustrated right now because this has never happened to me in my entire career. And I don't even want to go. I'm driving, but I'm like, I don't even want to go right now. I'm driving. I don't want to go, but I'm still going. 20 minutes in, still silent, had not spoken, did not say a word. 30 minutes or like 45 minutes in, I share with her, I'm like, hey, I'm just processing right now. So if I'm quiet, just let it be. And so after that, she kind of like fell asleep or whatever. She ended up, there's a really hard break in between traffic. So that woke her up. And I was like, sorry, nothing's happening. Just, I'm still, literally, like I had to do oh my God, I had to do one of these things. So it was so freaking hard.
Oh, wow.
But then the entire time I was just processing the emotion of feeling angry towards her. But then at the end, when I'm reflecting, I'm like, it really is on me because I could have told her to come a little bit earlier, or at least cued her in with like, hey, just be prepared. Like if you are able to come in like 20 or 30 minutes earlier, great.
He needs to be sent home.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. And then we did our thing. We got to the conference 2.5 freaking hours
So
later.
you guys didn't talk.
We didn't talk the entire time. 2.5 hours.
But she slept?
She slept.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Makes it easy.
And we did our thing. And then even on the way back, because at the end, we got there, we did our work. Like we got some video content or whatever, came back. And on the way back, we at least felt a relief of, cool, we did our job. We're there. Now we can leave. And so on the way back, it was like a different conversation because I'm like, hey, like I need to apologize as far as this frustration that I was feeling. I know it was really, really tense, but just note, this is not acceptable. Like I had to be very open with her. I'm like, it's a habit that you might be creating if you're showing up late and late and late on a per week basis, right? So I wasn't super surprised that she was late. What it was to me was that she was an hour late. Like 20 minutes, okay. 30 minutes, fine, but a fucking hour late. And you couldn't control traffic that day. Traffic was weird. It was raining slightly. It was drizzling that day. So everyone and their moms in California have no idea how to drive. So I can't control that either.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But you guys you were experiencing my thoughts as I was messaging you guys.
Yeah. Because I mean, I totally agree.
Right.
Like we left from what I had told everyone on time. And even then I was like, I was getting mad at myself because I was like, we should have left earlier.
Yeah.
You know? And then like because I'm driving, Sandra is telling me everything that's happening between the text message, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know what I would have done. You know, I would have been like, I have to go. I don't know what I...
thinking about leaving myself. I'm like, do I just leave? Do I just fucking leave?
Yeah.
But then I didn't want to leave and like drive alone either in that traffic, because carpool at least helped.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's good that you were able to tell her what was going on. I think you narrated for her, hey, I'm upset. Don't take it personal.
I'm going to process.
I need to process.
Yeah.
I had to. Like, it's just something that even it's a value of mine to be very open in communication. And when that is, for me, it's me doing my due diligence with partners or like colleagues or whatnot, because I can't let that, like you said, just get it all
fester.
Yeah, festered or swept under the rug, whatever you want to call
build up.
I have to tell it. Like I have to share it. I know that we're going through a lot of anger emotions, but if there is a transition in which we can talk about any of the other primary emotions, that would be great.
Oh.
Have you ever had moments in which you feel like you couldn't control your happiness?
Like you're so happy.
You're so happy that you just want to punch a wall or a teddy bear. No, even my emotions of happiness, I still end up crying.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Happiness as an emotion, though, is something that we tend to forget mostly based off of all of the other emotions. Because even if you think about your past, we always end up going straight to a negative emotion. Like the traumatic experiences are always very apparent in everyone's brains, right? And so it's like, it's harder for people to think of a happy emotion. I, like, if I go down like my elementary school road, I have remembered from that period when I fell on my face. I got stitches on my face. So that's like one traumatic experience. And then even in like kindergarten, I don't remember what the hell I did, right? It's like, I can't remember these moments in my life because it always tends to, you always really remember the bad ones. So I was trying to rework it where I'm like trying to just remember the good ones more.
That one does take work. I love my best friend. She does a really good job about making sure that I cement certain moments that are good moments in my life because I tend to dismiss them. You know, so I don't know why I do that. But things that are a big deal, I just kind of minimize them and just move along. Just like, hey,
hold on.
Just FYI, this needs to be celebrated. You need to celebrate this. And I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, and I think it's the same thing with those happy moments. Just take a moment to really, you know, soak it all in and really try to cement that in your brain. That is work. Yeah. I think maybe we get stuck on the bad ones because we're trying to protect ourselves, you know, if we think about it that way. But the good moments are things that we really need to work on. Work to remember.
More, right?
Yeah.
Which is very interesting too, because we all strive to be happy, yet we still forget when we are actually happy.
Yeah. I think I heard somewhere that both good and bad emotions, you need to almost like find that balance, like that sobering emotion, because being angry, all of the negative emotions, they're not going to last. But neither are the good ones. And I know that sounds terrible.
No, it doesn't.
But I think that sometimes when there are things that are moments that are very, very happy, there is that feeling of, I don't know, like, this is great. And, you know, it just feels like you can do anything, you know, in that happy moment, or life is good and this and that. But then it's like you kind of have to like sober up a little bit too. Enjoy the moment, but almost like,
come back down
a little bit. That's kind of weird, but it's true on both ends, good and bad.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to last forever. It's this swinging pendulum between both.
Yeah.
I heard one of the coaches that I listened to, she's like, life is always, it's 50-50, 50% bad and 50% good. Like you're always going to be like back and forth between the two. So whether you're in a good one, that's great. But just make sure you're prepped for when you swing back the other way and so forth, which is a sobering thought.
I love that thought.
Yeah.